Greetings and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. Today's episode is about love, wisdom, and power. The entities known as Ra and Quo have both spoken many times about the importance of balancing energies of love, wisdom, and power in our third density incarnations. This is apparently especially important for our wanderers who incarnated here on Earth from sixth density. How can we learn to be more open-hearted, but wise enough to not let ourselves be taken advantage of by others? How can we increase our love, wisdom, and power in ways that are consistent with the law of one and the path of service to others? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong. I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups at the LNL Research website shown on your screen. We also have a Facebook group, and we meet on Zoom twice a week, Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific Time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome to join. Just contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week with Zoom links and information on what we're talking about that week. We do also have a YouTube channel where we keep recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as recordings of our monthly Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty. Just go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications when we upload new videos, and contact us at seattlelaw1@gmail.com if you'd like to sit in on any of our Q&As with Jim. Otherwise, as mentioned, today's topic is love, wisdom, and power. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, let our viewers know who you are and where you're calling from, starting with Ashley.
Hi, guys. Good to be here. I'm coming from New Jersey.
So great to see you as always, Ashley. And Yasi?
Hi, Yossi from Houston, and very excited to be here. Thanks, Jonathan.
We're always excited to have you on. Thanks for joining. And Ben?
Hey everybody, my name is Ben and I'm from Everett, Washington, just outside of Seattle. I'm glad to be here.
Always great to have you on. Thank you all for joining us. Really looking forward to a great conversation. As a reminder to our viewers, as always, none of us here are experts or authorities on the law of one. We are just ordinary wanderers like you, trying to make sense out of this interesting incarnative time that we are experiencing. Anything that any of us say could be wrong. You're welcome to disagree with anything or everything any of us say. If you are already familiar with the law of one and the entity known as Quo, you might want to skip ahead to the chapter on green ray or heart chakra. Otherwise, for those who are new to the law of one, you can think of it as a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one and that one thing is love. All of the reading passages that we're looking at today came to us through a process known as channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, inner planes beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, etc. A channel basically serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through. And in this case, those entities would appear to be of extraterrestrial origin. There are two types of channeling that have been developed by our friends at LNL Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance state, meaning they're subconscious, unconscious, as if asleep, meaning they are not at all aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Ra back in the early 1980s. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but deep meditative state, meaning they're only somewhat aware of what words are coming out of their mouth as they're saying them. This is how contact was made with the entity known as Quo, starting in the mid-1980s up to present day. Who is Quo? You can think of Quo as a group entity made up of three social memory complexes: Ra at 6th density, Latui at 5th density, Hatan at 4th density. You can think of a social memory complex as a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one group mind. You can think of densities or dimensions as different levels of consciousness or different levels of reality, since those two things seem to be so closely intertwined. Imagine, if you will, that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some form of consciousness, as many indigenous peoples have been saying for centuries they do. We refer to that as first density. You can think of second density as the level of consciousness of plants and animals. Clearly a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of what we would refer to as inanimate matter. You can think of third density as the level of consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of plants and other animals. You can think of fourth density as the level of consciousness of the social memory complex. Again, as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one single group mind. Clearly a significant quantum leap above and beyond the consciousness of an individual person. You can think of fifth and sixth densities as whatever would be comparable quantum leaps above and beyond fourth density. There is much more to be said on that, and if you're interested, check out our podcast episode on densities and dimensions. Otherwise, for now, suffice it to say, the entity known as Quo seems to be a group entity made up of three planetary consciousnesses: Ra at sixth density, Latui at fifth density, Hatan at fourth density. First contact with Quo was made by the LNL research channeling team back in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984, and they've been channeled every month since then, up to present day by the LNL research channeling team. Session transcripts can be found in the LNL conscious channeling library shown on your screen. Having said all that, let's take a look at the green ray or heart chakra. For folks who are not familiar with this, you might want to check out our podcast episode on chakras and energy centers. Otherwise, for now, suffice it to say, according to Hindu traditions and Buddhist traditions and the law of one, the universal life force known as prana in Hinduism, Chi as it's known in Chinese spiritual traditions, the Force as it's known in Star Wars, or intelligent energy or love light as it's known in the Law of One, flows up into our energy body, entering the red ray or root chakra, which deals with survival, sexual reproduction, and fundamental vitality. From there, it goes up to the orange ray or sacral chakra, which deals with personal identity, relationships with other individual selves. From there, it goes up to the yellow ray or solar plexus chakra, which deals with group identity, relationships with groups of other selves. From there, it goes up to the green ray or the heart chakra, which deals with universal, unconditional love and is the springboard to heart chakras. From there, energy goes up to your blue ray or throat chakra, which deals with wisdom, honesty, truth, and clarity, communicating oneness, creator to creator. From there, energy goes up to the indigo ray or third eye chakra, which is referred to as the gateway to intelligent infinity. It's the center of the adept magical workings and what in the Law of One is known as work and consciousness. From there, energy goes out through your violet ray or crown chakra, which represents the sum or energetic signature of the self, reflecting overall balance. Not exactly the same as in Hinduism and Buddhism, but very similar, as you will see. So having said that, let's take a look at a passage relating to the green ray in particular. On September 1st, 2019, Quo said, "In these last days of your third density illusion and the first days of the fourth density quality of beingness, of love and understanding, you are aware that there is a great variety of entities upon your planetary surface, each of which has incarnated by seniority of vibration, and that there is the possibility for each to achieve this harvest into the fourth density of love and understanding. These entities are in search of that which you have tasted, perhaps briefly, perhaps fully, and that is the opening of the heart chakra, the unconditional love given freely to all things and all entities about one. If you are able, in your daily round of activities, to find this open heart functioning as fully as possible with every entity that you meet, every entity with whom you exchange any kind of energy, then this loving vibration that is set up between two of you or more is then felt by each other entity upon the planet that seeks love and light, for you are truly all one being. All entities upon the planet, whether positively, negatively, or neutrally polarized, would feel this love if all were conscious seekers of truth. However, because most are not conscious seekers of truth, this love vibration then goes into the subconscious mind of the being, to be used as it is possible when this entity is able to realize, in any degree, the conscious nature of its purpose for being on the earth at this time. That is, of course, as we said, the opening of the Green Ray Energy Center. So much in there to look at and to unpack. What do you think? Yasi, any thoughts on anything here?
Um, Yes, there is a lot to unpack. I'm trying to think where to start. Okay, so I think that what jumps out at me, especially, is something that I don't think I ever have heard in exactly the same way. So I'm curious to know if you guys have too. But I never thought that when you interact, two or more of you, with, a moment of love where you like come together and you see each other with love and you choose love, that energy is felt by everybody else. And if it's not like consciously felt, it goes and gets stored. I love that. I never thought about it exactly that way. It really makes it even more obvious how important every little thing that you do is. Like every interaction that you have matters. And not in a way to make you feel stressed out or that like you always have to be this like loving being, but that's how easily you can affect things is just to look at another person with at least trying to see love between you. And then the fact that that even gets stored in people who are unpolarized or negatively polarized, just waiting there to be used. I think
I
of
found
all
that
of it,
super
that's what jumped
fascinating
out.
too. But I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense if all is one, then sure,
Yeah.
everything is connected and what one experiences affects all. And I think they've said it in other sessions, maybe in
Mhm.
different words and other ways. But yeah, I find that super fascinating and encouraging. What do you
Yeah.
think? Ben, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's just a reminder to it says that it assumes that each of the entities who are reading this have tasted, perhaps briefly, perhaps fully, the opening of the heart chakra. So I feel like when I went through my awakening experience myself back a few couple years ago, I had this like this awareness of like, oh, that all is one, and it's hard to describe, but I think just to have the knowledge that um we're all down here to experience love, to kind of explore how it works, and to love freely and openly is enough just to even have that awareness that you're down here to experience that. I think is enough to get the green ray kind of vibrating a little bit and awakened. And so I think just being aware that you are a loving being here to experience love is like the main reason we're all down here is enough, and is enough to open the green ray center. And also you can see when you have that open. Like I remember being at the grocery store, just looking around at everyone, and seeing people in their unconsciousness and just going about their lives. And part of it's because everyone's got so much struggle within them that it's easy to forget what's important in life. So I think that being down here as an act of service, and being aware of this mission, quote unquote, is like half the battle. So and
Yeah.
it's a noble, undertaking. So that's my
Agreed. That's one of the parts of this passage that I think spoke to me the loudest. That is the purpose for being here on Earth, the opening of the Green Ray Energy Center. That is the mission, as you said. And it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to get caught up in everything else. And yet they're saying that really is the primary thing, the most important thing. Everything else that you do in life is really secondary, just compared to keeping your heart open as much as possible and being a channel for that love. It's a beautiful thing. Oh, what
yes.
do you think, Ashley? Anything to add?
I just wanted to uh, call to mind, well, what stood out to me was the idea that even if our other selves aren't able to consciously recognize that green ray vibration, it does still, it is still received by their subconscious. So, and it to be used at whatever time is right for them. So there's never any waste to sharing the love. Everyone will still receive it, and it will be of service to them at some point.
No love is wasted. Yeah, well said. Yeah, it's a beautiful passage, and we could probably spend 2 hours just talking about this passage, but got plenty of other great ones to look at. Does anybody else have anything to add on this passage before we move ahead? Sounds good. I did want to note that it is no coincidence that the heart chakra is the fourth chakra in the energy body, and that fourth density is indeed the density of love and understanding. It would appear there is a very close correlation between our energy centers and the densities that we're passing through. It's part of the same process of evolution. And I did want to recommend for folks who haven't read it yet, Carla Ruckert wrote a book called Living the Law of One, The Choice. It's available at the L&L Research Library shown on your screen. And much, if not most of that book is about working with energy centers. It does seem to be a really important practical way of living the law of one. Cannot recommend it enough. Otherwise, let's take a look at a passage on loving the unlovable. On July 16th, 1989, Quo said, "We are building, shall we say, the skyscraper that is based upon the firm foundation you now are laying, the foundation of accepting the unacceptable, of loving the unlovable, of changing the insult into the light touch. You have the control to make these choices at will. Each of you has this within, but how difficult, my friends, it is to call upon it. As always, we move to the suggestion of persistent daily meditation, the listening within, the learning of who you really are, the centering of oneself within the creation so that no thing is strange and no one a stranger. Nothing threatens, but only challenges." And on September 9th, 1990, Quo said, "You as a spirit are honored and thrilled to be able to be incarnated this time. Yes, you incarnated here, each of those in this circle as wanderers with a wish to help others. Yet because of the opportunities of third density, it is quite typical for those who wish to serve also to wish to become even more transparent to the love and light of the infinite creator. This, of course, does mean the ability to accept the unacceptable, to love the unlovable. You did not come here to learn how to be loved. You came to this particular sphere to love. If the unacceptability of someone close to you is not recognized as cold-bloodedly as possible as the opportunity you have given yourself to accept the unacceptable portion, both of yourself and the other person, then you shall at least know the direction in which to move." I really love that part about you as a spirit are honored and thrilled to be able to be incarnate this time. I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Quo. You do not speak for me. Maybe that's how I felt before incarnation. That's not necessarily how I'm feeling right about now. Such a beautiful passage. And again, so many gems of love and wisdom. Always have to remind myself, as we were saying before we started recording, that all of this stuff was being spoken by somebody who was in a deep, deep meditative state and was only somewhat aware of what words were coming out of their mouth as they're saying them, and certainly had no idea where they're going with it. So that's just such a beautiful thing to see in hindsight, at least. What do you think, Ashley? Any thoughts on anything here?
I like the line, so that nothing is strange and no one a stranger. One of the, for me, key points of entering that uninhibited green ray is to put down the walls that we are different from other selves, and so that no one is a stranger. And when I don't see other selves as strangers or other beings, whether it's an ant or a deer or a tree, then it's so much easier to love. So that definitely stood out, and I think is an important key. And also the strange aspect, experiences, whether it's from other people, their life experience, their culture, their appearance, when nothing else that's different from you becomes strange, that also helps with opening the heart.
Beautifully said. What? Yeah, I love that part about no thing is strange and no one a stranger. What do you make out of the next line after that? Nothing threatens, but only challenges. What do you make out of that, Ashley?
For me, that is kind of taking back the power that catalyst, that some people can give to catalyst. It's easier said than done, but when you don't see catalyst, no matter what form, whether it's other selves saying things that you don't like or attempting to do something you don't like, or just a world system you're in, when you don't see that as this is attacking me, this is hurting me, I'm the victim, then you're able to step into this mode of, okay, what is this teaching me? In the challenge, there is teaching. And we understand, I think, inherently, at least for me, that challenges are meant to be overcome, which means there's something on the other side of it, something to learn. So for me, that statement is about empowerment of the things we go through and knowing that they do have a purpose to make us grow.
Yeah, beautifully said. And that's definitely something I'm working on. I think every day it would be fair to say there's so many things that one could easily take as being threatening, but learning to see it as a challenge to one's spiritual growth, to learn how to love the unlovable and accept the unacceptable, and to see this as a challenge and opportunity rather than a threat.
For
Beautiful,
sure.
profound. What do you think? Yasi, anything to add?
Oh, that was very beautifully put, Ashley. Um, yeah, I feel like when I saw the title of this, like Loving the Unlovable, I thought, isn't that like, oh my God, one of the most challenging things? And not in a judgmental, like, oh my God, there's so many unlovable things, but like real, for real, I think for me, the big gap between the theory of like we are all one, everything is one. It's so beautiful. Like, we're all one thing. Like theory, I'm all in. I totally agree. I like walk around saying it, but then like it's the practice of really, really being in front of the unlovable as we judge it, which is the other thing I want to connect it to is judgment. We think something's unlovable because we inherently come down to third density and we or come up to third density and we judge, right? I think it's one of the biggest things that happens. We create this separation of good and bad, of loving and unloving, and then we spend our whole lives just like, comparing what's loving and what's loving over and over again, what's loving and what's not. So it's no small challenge, this one, to really embody loving another as yourself. And I think it just brings me to this other thing that struck out at me that I almost wanted to challenge, which is there's a line in the second paragraph where Quo says, "You did not come here to learn how to be loved." And I kind of want to push back on that. Not that Quo could make a mistake in what they say, but I actually think you do come here to learn how to be loved. I think that the reason that you judge is mostly because you judge yourself. And that is partly because you haven't learned to love and understand yourself, and partly because sometimes you don't receive love from others, which ties to the same thing. You don't think you're worthy or whatever. So I think that truly loving another starts with really loving and understanding yourself, obviously, as Ra and Quo have said. And
That makes
that is the
perfect
thing that
sense.
gets closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, that makes perfect sense. And I suspect that Ra would not disagree with that in particular.
mhm,
I think
mhm.
being able to receive love and to love yourself, as you were saying, yeah, I would imagine that probably is a big, important part of other people's learnings. I think in that particular case, they were just saying your
Yeah.
main purpose isn't here to receive love. Your
Yeah.
main purpose here is to channel love to others and learn
Right.
to love others who seem to be really hard to love.
Yeah, well, you're totally right, Jonathan. And then I think they do explain it. And when they say that, and this is my other thing that I loved about this is, they say, you put this person in front of you. You created this moment of catalyst. So you could see something as unacceptable or loving, lovable, and then therefore to see that in yourself. Where are you not
Yeah,
accepting yourself? Where are you not loving? Like to think
right,
of those moments as like challenges you actually set up and not
right,
just, oh, you're bumping against somebody you're annoyed to bump against and like you wish everybody was enlightened. I think that's
right.
practicality of that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that things have changed over time. I mean, these passages were recorded in 1989 and 1990. That was quite a while ago, and I think comparatively now things are so much more hyperpolarized. I think there are so many people who are really doing intensely service to self things, which are really inflicting a lot of pain and suffering on a lot of other entities,
Yeah.
I guess by their own permission, if that's what they chose pre-incarnatedly to do. But I think it would be fair to say there's a lot of people who seem to be doing things now that seem a lot harder to accept and a lot harder to love than maybe 30, 40 years ago. What do you think, Ben? Any
Yeah,
thoughts on that
it
or
seems.
anything else?
Uh, I just like to say first, Yazi and Ash, great comments. I don't have a lot to add, but I will say that, um, just like Yasi was hinting at, I think this is one of the hardest things to do in this existence as a third density being is to maintain that thought in your head that you know we're here to love and also I agree that we're here to receive love, and if you have trouble seeing that, then there's definitely a blockage in yourself. And I think that meditation is such a important point here that it makes in the first paragraph, or Paul makes in the first paragraph, because um, it's I think for me at least, I think meditation is a way to kind of help process or the catalyst that we're going through in order to remember that we're here to love and also to have grace, because I think grace is a big uh, powerful force here, and because grace is having the ability to accept reality as it is and as it comes, and people as they are. And I think part of for me, part of what helps is if I'm having a really hard time, if I'm holding someone in intense judgment, what I do with myself is I try to look back at their whole lives, look at like what decisions led them to become this person that is in front of me that has this intense energy that I'm that I'm resisting, and then what is it in that's in me that is also unlikable that I'm holding that's causing
Right.
me to hold this other person in such judgment. So it's a real it's a real test to have that awareness all the time, because it's really easy. It's so easy to just go to react with anger and judgment and
Right.
separation, and then like all the law of one stuff goes out the window when we're sitting in
Right.
in anger and reaction. And so, which
Right.
is why again I say coming back to meditation or even finding a quiet moment in your day to kind of process. And I know the law of one talks about the balancing act at the end of the day to kind of
Mm.
go through the catalyst of the day, and I think that's really that's important work to do.
Do
If
you
you're
do
trying
that
to,
balancing exercise? I have tried it, and I have to admit it's a technique I just have not
when
really
I
hasn't
remember when
clicked.
I'm going to bed, when if I'm not too tired, I will kind of go through the day and think about where did I slip, where could I have acted with more love, where was the love in that situation. So it's I would say that living this way is a chore. Like it's not a chore. It's also
It's
it
an
requires
honor and a thrill, I believe. Quote said.
it
Yeah,
requires mindfulness, so that we were
exactly.
so
You
honored and
should be so
thrilled
honored.
to come down here and incarnate to experience it all. And I think that Jonathan, you are correct that we're living in a real intense time of intense catalyst, and people are going to the extremes of choices within service to self and or service to others. So uh,
Both, for sure, need to acknowledge that there are many people who are doing a lot of really intensely service to others things. Also, probably more.
so I think holding grace for yourself and for others is a real important thing in order to live in this world. So I'll stop it with that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate how they ended that last passage with if you cannot cold bloodedly recognize somebody as giving you an opportunity for spiritual growth, at least you know the right direction in which to move. If you can't love somebody who's unlovable or accept something that's unacceptable, at least you know which direction to move to try to get closer to it. I think is just another beautiful, loving, and compassionate thing to say. For sure. Oh, yeah. Anybody else have any other thoughts on either of these passages before we look at something else?
Um, Ben, I wanted to say that it was amazing that you brought that up, the like trying to look at someone and see what has led them to that point and then seeing that thing in yourself. And I think that as you go through the awakening journey, you reach a stage where it's easy to feel like elitist, where you're thinking like, oh my God, I'm better now. Like I'm awake now. Oh, you guys are all asleep. Oh, like I don't know about you guys, but I definitely have had stages in the awakening, and I remember reaching that stage and being kind of shocked because I never felt very judgmental towards people. And I was like, what is this feeling that's coming up? I don't like this at all. Why am I judging when I never really used to judge that much? And I think that was exactly the moment that I realized I'm supposed to look at myself now in these moments. Like every time I would see a mom yelling at like a little kid in the grocery store, I would be like, oh my God, I've been that person. Like I've been that person. I'm judging that person right now. But like I remember when I was that person, and I'm going back now, even retroactively, and giving myself the grace, like you said, that I didn't do at the time. Like I'm sure that I lived with so much guilt and regret and judgment at those actions that were not loving in the moment. And then these things now come up, and they are exactly a moment for you to look back at yourself, mirror back at yourself, and even go back to moments before and give yourself grace. So I think that's huge. It really is. Thank you for bringing that up.
For sure.
Yeah, I was reading a passage not too long ago where they were talking about the difference between judging and discerning. And they were saying that judging people or judging yourself usually seems to be a attitude that is lacking in compassion for others, whereas when you're discerning, you can still make discernments that somebody's doing something that's service to self or something that's cruel or hateful or whatever. But it doesn't mean you can't love that person. It doesn't mean you can't take the compassionate look, as you guys are saying, which is, well, think about where they're coming from, and you would probably do the same thing in their shoes. In fact, you would do the same thing because they're literally you in a different pair of shoes. So yeah, including that
That's true.
compassion, I think is important. Oh, yeah, anybody else? Anything to add on these two passages? I really had fun putting together this session. There were so many great passages and so many that I didn't include. But the ones that I put in, I think, are so rich and
You
profound.
picked great ones. Agree.
And I always appreciate hearing different perspectives. I always learn from you guys, so appreciate
Same.
your feedback. Let's go ahead and take a look at a passage on love over fear. On November 28th, 2004, Quo said, "There is a true hope among your peoples that is growing daily for the energies of love and trust and peace to come swelling up like buds opening into flowers in spring. When each of you chooses love over fear, you start something happening in the unseen worlds. You create an energy that is compatible with fourth density. Each time you choose to trust, to love, to have forbearance and compassion, to see the other person's point of view, and truly walk in his shoes instead of your own, you are expanding the kingdom of fourth density right where you are. And the more people that begin consciously to do this, the faster this kingdom will expand. We say to you plainly, fourth density is all but complete. As you walk about in third density, the fourth density energy is stronger every day upon your planet. The earth itself is vibrating largely in fourth density now. That is why so many entities are sensing the need to become closer in contact to the earth itself, touching the ground, working with the earth, working with plants and animals, and those things that abide in the creation of the Father and have nothing to do with the world of the mind of man." Yeah, really beautiful passage. And this was from 2004. So if the Earth was largely vibrating in fourth density then, I can only assume that it's just vibrating completely in fourth density now. And as Quo has said, it's just third density humans that seem to be lagging behind and kind of clinging to third density. Beautiful thing, though. What do you think, Ben? Any thoughts on anything in this passage?
This kind of is expanding on what we were just talking about, how, um, you know, when you choosing love is always the way to go, and I don't really know if I have much to add here. Let's see.
Can come back to you.
Yeah, okay. But yeah.
Any thoughts, Yasi, on anything here?
I'm going to piggyback on Ben's choosing love. I think that, this is the density of choice, right? And it's not just, in my opinion, like when I think about that, it's not just like one big choice, like the big choice of service to self or the big choice of service to others, but it's like the choice in every moment. It's a moment to moment choosing love over fear, choosing love over judgment, choosing understanding over, you know, uh, blindness. So I think that that so deeply highlights what an effect you have when you choose love and compassion in the moment. And I think the other thing that for me highlights that importance of that choice is like when you think about melting into fourth density is the density of love and understanding. And I think it's easy to forget the second part. We just think like love, how nice, but like understanding is such a big part of love. It makes love an actual actionable, doable thing versus some ethereal, romantic idea floating around. It's like you get to love with understanding, and you get to understanding with like Ben said earlier, having these moments of stillness where you really get to look at it, a moment of choice, and understand it, understand the other, understand why people do what they do, understand they are like you, and then choose love over fear. So I think that it's beautiful because as Ashley said earlier, it puts the power and the onus on you, and it makes you capable. You get to choose. You get to choose, every moment, like how you interact with that moment.
Nice. Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up the understanding part. I did leave that out of the chart, but it is true. Kuo and Ra have many times referred to fourth density not just as the density of love, but love and understanding. And I don't think I necessarily would have thought of understanding automatically as going with love. I think the way you explained it makes perfect sense. And I think that's a good thing for all of us to remember because, as you said, I mean, there's an infinite number of moments every day. And if you really think about it, pretty much every moment you can choose between what seems to be more loving or less loving, more judgmental or less judgmental. And that's part of, I think, what we came here to experience. What do you think, Ashley? Any thoughts on this passage or anything else we've been talking about?
What comes to mind is that on the one hand, yes, we have 4D Gaia already in activation. Yeah. And then on the other hand, there's a part of me that really has come to understand we are fourth density. We have it within ourselves, and its true manifestation doesn't really occur externally, but internally. And so whenever we choose love, compassion for ourselves, for other selves, and we align more and become more in harmony with fourth density vibration, that is to me the actualization of it. Because if we were to consider, because I know some really latch on to the metaphysical idea of it, that we're going to phase into another dimension and everything will be pristine and so on. But really, even if all human beings entered fourth density in here and in here, we wouldn't even need to worry about the external. Even 3D Gaia would be enough to have paradise and to have heaven on earth because the fourth density would be in here. So I'll just say we are fourth density. It manifests when we manifest it.
Yeah, what a beautiful way to put it. And I think it is super encouraging to have an understanding, for lack of a better word, that if you really want fourth density to be here sooner, then you have to be fourth density. That means, yeah, every time you're given a choice between having a choice to respond to something with fear or respond with love, the more that you choose the loving, understanding, unconditional love response, the faster you're enabling the whole planet to be fourth density. And it's an easy thing to forget. Like I said, I do realize there's so many moments in every day where I'm looking at something, happening in current events, shall we say, and my normal automatic response is to respond with fear or judgment or anger or frustration. And those are the choices that I'm making that are less than unconditionally loving. And that's something that I need to reprogram my biocomputer on, shall we say.
Totally understandable, though. I mean,
Right.
that's the natural response, and I feel like therein lies the challenge. And so
Yeah.
it's perfectly normal.
Yeah, and I appreciate your saying that. And when I say that about myself, I'm not judging myself as
Okay.
bad or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm acknowledging the truth that I still
Okay.
got a ways to go in learning this with everybody else. So appreciate it. All right, anybody else? Any other thoughts on this passage before we take a look at wisdom?
I was just thinking the kingdom of heaven is within. As you were saying, the fourth density happens inside.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, indeed. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at a passage on wisdom and blue ray. To go back to our energy centers and chakra, blue ray is the next energy center after green ray, dealing with wisdom, honesty, truth, and clarity. On September 28th, 2019, Quo said, and this has been edited for brevity, the clarity of the vision that is available to one who has activated the blue ray energy center is a kind of crisp and clear apprehension of the pure qualities as they are presented to the perceptions of the entity utilizing the throat energy center. These perceptions have a quality that is pristine, shall we say, untarnished by cloudy or impure or disturbed or confused perceptions. The wisdom of the blue ray is the wisdom which sees the world about it in a clear light. The wisdom or the compassion of the green ray is that which sees all as objects and beings of the one creator that are to be loved without discrimination, without any holding back, shall we say. Thus the blue ray entity may, as you have described, be somewhat cold in its estimation and the communication with other entities if the green ray energy center within it has not been activated. However, it will not be, shall we say, fooled by other entities as easily as one who has the green ray open without the activation of the blue ray. Yeah, beautiful passage. And I know this comes up fairly often in our Zoom discussions, which are not recorded on YouTube. But yeah, oftentimes we talk about trying to find that balance. And there are some folks who are very, very open green ray, but they have a little bit of hard time making those discernments and letting themselves being taken advantage of or hurt by others. So there does seem to be real balance in between being open-hearted and loving all undiscriminately, but discriminating or making discernments with the blue ray in order to do whatever it is that we came here to do. Oh, what do you think, Ashley? Any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure when we want to be open and loving, but we also have to protect our green ray, and it's so that we don't diminish it, so that we are kind of put at a disadvantage to serve. It's like I will serve, be of service to others in so much that the service doesn't compromise my ability to serve more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is a dance for sure that we're learning all the time. And I can acknowledge I've seen examples when there is more blue ray activation than green ray, and so that the individuals have a lot of intellect, a lot of metaphysical knowledge, and when interacting with other selves, they have a lot of conflict because they're not sharing that awakening information in a way that's loving. It almost comes down as a judgment, and then that pulls away other selves. So I feel like it's very important to keep in mind that as we love, as we do things in service to others, love should be the primary directive. Otherwise, there is no point. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So
For
that
sure.
just came to mind. Thanks.
Yeah, and as you were speaking, I was thinking, sounds like me. It sounds a lot like me you're describing. And it's true. I think I have, for much of my later adult life, had to learn how to be more open-hearted and a little bit less judgmental and a little bit less intellectual and less, I don't know if I would call myself wise, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, what do you think? Yasi, anything to add?
Beautiful. I think that the quality of Blu-ray that I find that is so embodied in these passages that I find so beautiful is clarity. It's just that the idea of clear seeing, right? And I think that um, there's something so kind of crystalline and like a beautiful bright morning, this idea of clarity where you can see something truly for what it is without muddling it with any of your preconceived notions or even judgment, right? Like when you can see something clearly, I think it's easier to bring in heart chakra because you're also not adding judgment to that discernment, judgment to that wisdom, right? Like the clarity allows you to see it in its purity and be able to, I think, use it at the best way that you can. So, when you can see something with clarity, you can kind of pass it down in less of a tough love way. Because the words tough love came up to me when I was reading this. Like we all have, or maybe we all are, some of us are tough love in our lives. And there's always kind of an element of judgment where it seems like that person has understood a truth or the wisdom of a situation more than you, and then they're kind of in a kind of judgmental way putting that on you. You always sort of resist, right? But some of the best teachings that I've ever seen be given are given with a kind of just smooth clarity of the situation. You know, there is wisdom there, but there isn't all the other stuff added to it. So I love that quality of true Blu-ray energy. That's what stuck out to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm reminded of glass half full, half empty kinds of things. And I think the view that we're going for is to see both, to not just see the negatives, but be able to see the positives in everything and be able to love everybody, even though you can see some things perhaps that might be more difficult to love than others. Oh, what do you
Yeah.
think, Ben? Anything to add?
Yeah, I have a few things to add. So, I've been thinking about Green Ray and Blu-ray a lot lately because um, I just went through this something in my life where I think I can apply this. So my 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 condo I live in, we have a cool fireplace, and but outside they didn't finish it completely, so it's a part of it's kind of open underneath where the siding ends, and then there's like a patch. But anyway, some local rats had discovered this hole in the back of the fireplace,
Oh
and
no.
so we've
Oh
we've started
no.
hearing noises, and then our cats are going crazy, of course. And so we notified the HOA about it. It was a whole issue, and they wanted to put out poison for the rats, which is my wife and I are big. Not we don't want to do that, and it's not health. It's not safe, and it's not good for the other animals to put poison into the food chain. Like you might kill a few rats, but eventually other animals are going to get affected by it. So anyway, this is where the Green Ray, of course, doesn't want me to kill any life, and obviously I feel terrible about putting these snap traps out to catch these rats, but at the same time I have to live here, and this is my home. And so the Blu-ray is coming in and saying, you still have to live in this world, and you still have to protect your place of living. And so we put up the traps, and then obviously we're going to get this repaired so that we don't have any more intruders. But it's I've already caught a few, and I've had to dispose of them, and I buried a big hole in the yard, and I'm very conscious about burying them, and I feel terrible about it. And each death is like terrible to see these little creatures. They look so harmless, but I can hear them in the walls doing God knows what. So I think this is a case of of me having to go through this and these little creatures' lives is
That's a good
terrifying.
example.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a good example of I still have reverence for these rats, and but also I have to protect my home, and so that's where the Blu-ray comes in, and it's kind of so I would say like Green Ray is like the love is like a fountain that's coming up from your heart, and I think the Blu-ray energy
Right.
kind of focuses it and keeps it on the level so you can survive in this third density world where we have rats that
Right.
want to live in your house and people who aren't.
Well, it's good that you can still see the rats as much as creator and self as another third density
Yep.
human. That's a good thing. And yeah, that's a good example of a tough ethical decision to make, I would
Yeah.
think.
So
Did you
anyway,
say
It's a
any
nice
kind of
visual.
prayer for the rats or anything as you were
I do.
burying
Like
them?
I always when I bury them, I always put a flower with them, and then I put leaves over their face so they don't get dirt in their face, and then I say a little prayer when I bury them.
Oh.
So yeah,
Nice.
it's been tough, but we're on the end of it, luckily. So I think I haven't heard much activity lately, so that's good.
On a lesser level, I'm pulling dandelions out of the yard all the time, and I just say "bless you" every time I do it because I know that in a way I'm taking a life also.
Hey, are you making a
But
wish and blowing the little things off of
no,
it?
I'm trying to catch them before they get to that point. I'm trying to get them while they're still got the yellow flower head. Yeah, 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 beautiful. Much appreciate that. Oh, yeah, anybody else? Anything to add on this passage before we look at something else?
I like the visual that Ben just gave of like the fountain coming from fourth ray and then third ray love and then the fourth ray like focusing the spray of
Yeah,
water. That's so cool. That's really cool. I like that.
it's a great way. Speaking of visuals and metaphors, let's take a look at a passage on balancing love and wisdom. On January 26, 2022, Quo said, "We present to this entity the example of a domicile, what you in your illusion may call a house, home, structure in which an entity may live. Take, for instance, the physical structure of the domicile itself, the walls, the bricks, the steel beams, the glass, the roof, whatever construction is employed to create the structure, consider that your wisdom. Now look within the home, and you see the items that create the environment which is comfortable or uninhabitable. Take, for instance, the furniture, the decorations, the lighting, the appliances. Envision those items as love. The balance between the two is inherently important, for without the structure surrounding these interior items that provide warmth and comfort, there's no protection. The entity is vulnerable. However, if there's only structure and no interior items for warmth and comfort, the entity finds themselves cold and uninspired and uncomfortable." Beautiful metaphor. Can't say I've seen it described that way before. And again, it's a wonder that these words would be coming through these channeled sources, through people who really didn't know what words they were saying or where they were going with it. But yeah, so much love and wisdom and compassion that I see here. I think it's beautiful. And I don't think I can really add anything in what's been said. Do you have any thoughts on anything here, Yasi?
I just love that they're like domicile, your domicile. And then, that
Sounds
that
like an
sentence that
insult.
or,
Yeah.
yeah, or like what you call in your illusion a house. Like, it's like I love it when
That's
they're
how you
like
know
in
you're
your
talking to an
illusion.
extraterrestrial entity. I don't know any people who talk like this. Yeah.
It made me think about the Three Little Pigs, when
Oh
they
yeah.
build the house of straw, straw, brick, and what was the third one?
Six.
Wood,
Yeah.
bricks, straw, wood, and bricks. Um, so just to go along with that analogy of the domicile, you can, I think intentionality goes into how you set up the structure of your house, your wisdom, like, what's your true intention? How are you really setting up your wisdom to protect yourself, to allow love to reside within, but still, set up a strong enough boundary that it doesn't just flit away with the wind.
Right.
um Thought goes into it, right? I think that that's an interesting way to think about it, how you build the outside of your house. um so that it's strong enough to be protective. That's the thing that stuck out for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I think in many ways you could say wisdom is in many ways what protects you from being hurt by others. Not by hurting others, but by just protecting self. That makes sense.
Yeah, like make it out of brick so that, it's just a strong, strong foundation, but then still fill it with all the beautiful things, right? One doesn't negate the other or
Right.
keep out good things.
Right. Yeah, all about the balance. What do you think,
Mhm.
Ben? Anything to add?
Yeah, not too much. Kind of the same thing. I feel like without the structure or without the wisdom, I guess, of experience, like for me at least, I had to go through experience of getting my heart broken when I was younger, or to learn like you have to have boundaries in life, or else people are going to walk all over you, and that's kind of where the structure of the house comes in. Um, you know, and plus, if you have boundaries and you live by them, then people kind of there's like this respect thing that comes. Do you have a certain respect for yourself, and then people see that respect that you're holding for yourself, and they actually respect you more for it. So in a way,
Yeah.
it protects itself in a sense and feeds into itself. And similarly, if your if your energy if your love is unstructured and you're kind of just codependent on everyone, people are going to walk all over you because they don't respect that. So I think that's kind of where my mind went with the metaphor here. So.
Yeah, well said. And I believe the next passage we're looking at speaks more to boundaries also. Ashley, anything to add?
No, great reflections, guys. I've really been enjoying them. Yassi and Ben. Nothing to
Same.
add.
Thanks, Ash.
Same.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at a passage on positive wisdom. On January 26, 2022, and this has been edited for brevity, Quo said, "For wisdom to be employed in a way that is pure and strong, there is an inherent relationship to the intention behind it. Be the intention love, then the purity, if you will, the strength, the effectiveness of the wisdom is magnified and rebounds outward. The efficiency of the energetic signature of love is too magnified when at its intention, its core, is the exercise of wisdom. Then that love rebounds outward effectively." So with that, we would like to impart that what you call positive wisdom is wisdom that has at its core and is backed by intentions that are informed by love. Not a love that is necessarily vulnerable, but that love that is accepting. As was stated before in the previous instrument, a good example of positive wisdom at play, with a backing of pure, but not foolhardy, love, is the manifestation or an action of what you call boundaries. We find that boundaries are a good example of this dynamic relationship, though we realize that may land as an example of that which is in opposition to love and or wisdom. However, such an action as a boundary between two entities can provide potent and beautiful medicine that you may call catalyst that teaches or has the opportunity to teach both selves love and acceptance for self and other self, while simultaneously providing the opportunity for the development of deeper wisdom, deeper understanding of how the illusion is at play, how there is a seeming separation or divergence, and the illusory nature of that separation and divergence. Really beautiful thoughts here, and I definitely appreciate the talk about boundaries. That seems very important and relevant. Any thoughts, Ashley?
Um, Once again, I really like that those have co-highlighted the fact that our use of Blu-ray energy and wisdom effectively should be grounded in intentions driven by green ray. So it's like Blu-ray is most effective if your service to others when it's driven by green ray intentions. And on the flip side, green ray can be most effective when it is in harmony with the Blu-ray alignment or expression. So again, just coming back to love being most important for wisdom to be effective. And I did like that they touched on boundaries because there are some who say, oh, boundaries, if you're setting boundaries, that's not really love either. Like you're somehow not being as open-hearted as you claim. But the idea is that when you are in imbalanced with green ray, you will actually affect your ability to operate in green ray through
Right.
depletion when you don't have those boundaries. So
Right.
it's everything is connected. And I just like that they highlight that our experiences, once again, are not to badger us or beat us down into submission or negative states. They are to refine us in the fires like a diamond under pressure. Well, a lump of coal under pressure so it can become a
Right.
diamond.
Right. Yeah, and it's a good reminder that the path of spiritual evolution in our logos at least goes through the fourth density of love, up to fifth density, the density of wisdom, up to sixth density, the density of unity. So I think that's why they have said so many times, so many wanderers come here from sixth density, specifically to learn how to refine those balances of love and wisdom, because you need them both in balance in order to progress through sixth
Yeah.
density. So, yeah. And great opportunities to learn them here for sure. What do you think, Yasi? Any thoughts? Anything to add?
Yeah, as Ashley alluded to, I love this feedback loop that's happening between love and wisdom. Like you infuse love into wisdom, it makes wisdom much more powerful. You infuse wisdom into love, it does the same thing back for love. And that interplay of the two, you know, being kind of in your mind as you go along your day, even though, yes, like love really is the ultimate infusion force of all, but to imagine these two energy centers constantly in a balanced interplay with each other, and the fact that they can brighten one brighten the other is really, really powerful, I think. Um,
Sure.
and then the other thing, okay, so for me, the boundaries thing is definitely one of the things I'm supposed to learn here because I think that I am definitely love over wisdom often. And I want to like rescue and I want to stop people from feeling pain you know, just help them wherever I can. And to the extent that my whole life, most of it, I've been willing to take on the pain, the struggle, the hardship, just so they can be happier, you know, easier. But as I've gotten to understand this path more and more and really understand the power of wisdom, um, not only have I realized that, as Ashley said, you can deplete your own, you know, progression and love for others, for yourself by doing this kind of thoughtless, you know, kind of giving. Not giving, I don't mean like that. I'm not like giving, but you know what I mean? Just like
Yeah.
kind of idiot compassion.
Hmm.
Um, but the other thing that I've started to realize more and more the last few years is that like we're not just we're not just walking around finding catalyst, you know, kind of bouncing off of us. We're also providing catalyst to others. You know, it's we're also in people's lives to give them or push back for them or do whatever it is for them
Right.
also to learn, to grow, to feel that spark, right? So
Right.
sometimes in those moments when you pull back and you're not giving that person everything you want to give them so they don't have to struggle, they don't have to try, you're actually allowing them to feel that catalyst, to grow with that catalyst, to get to where they want to go on their path, you know? It's almost in that way important for you to reach that boundary because you don't want to deny them the
Right.
way the path is meant to unfold for them because you're too love over wisdom or, you know, you're not balancing in the proper way.
For sure. Yeah, especially with parenting, I would think it's really easy as
Yeah.
a parent to want to solve all the problems for your kids and to
Mhm.
um, not let them experience difficult catalysts for themselves because that's part of the learning.
Mhm.
It's a lifetime of learning for sure. Anybody else? Any thoughts on this passage before we look at something else?
I think I want to
I
jump in. One thing I was thinking of just now is, you know, it's really easy to get frustrated by the world we live in right now because we see all this injustice and you know poverty and people living in ways that are not for the good of all, you know. And so um, I think that it's okay that's what this world is about. And so I think it's okay to remember that. we're not here to heal the world. We're here to love the world and to actually accept the world as it is. And so, and I think that's in a way that's kind of having that boundary with yourself, to know that you don't have to take on all the pains of the world, and you don't have to, you can focus on one or two specific things and put your energy into that, and then let the rest go, and it's okay. And even being down here and having these conversations is doing the work, and because we're manifesting this energy and creating it and putting it out there onto the internet, onto YouTube right now, and that is the important work. And so I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
At the same time, though, I think it's okay. It's part of why we are here, to express our opinions on things that maybe other people would disagree with. But as Yasi said, maybe that's part of our job here, to be mirrors to each other and
Exactly.
to express views that may be different and that may or may not help a person to rethink what they're doing. But again, I mean, you can disagree with someone and you can still love them. You can still look at somebody who does horrendous, heinous things to other people, and doesn't mean you have to accept it. You can accept them, you can still love them, but that doesn't mean you have to let them do it if you have say in it or whatever. I don't know, it depends on the situation for sure.
It does. I think Ben brings up such an important thing that I struggle with a lot, which is this idea of injustice. Like, I feel like I get so worked up over injustice, in small and big scales. It makes me so frustrated, and it's hard for me to like just let it be, or let it go, or accept it, or just accept that it's a part of the unfolding,
Yeah.
especially. And it's something I really work on. Like, I get just so riled up over the idea of injustice, and I think it's because it's like the idea that someone is forcing unlovingness onto something else, and I just don't like to see it. But like you said, that's just a natural unfolding of things. It's how it's meant to be, right? Nothing is gone
Yeah, and
wrong.
I think for me it's been helpful to look at it from a law of one perspective, so that when I see people doing things that seem incredibly
Mhm.
selfish and hurtful to others, rather than automatically just judging them as bad people, I would say, well, that's the negative polarity at work, and that's just as
Mhm.
valid as the positive polarity. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it, doesn't mean I have to let them do it to me or other people I care
Yeah.
about, but at least recognizing that, you pull back and look at the earth from a distance. Yeah, there's this huge interplay of positive and negative energies,
Yeah.
and trying to
Well, yeah.
harmonize with it, I suppose, is maybe better than trying to fight it or defeat it or something like that.
Right. Somehow it's easier to do it on the big scale. Like, I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like small little injustices will happen. Like the other day, my son's senior trip got canceled. Like, every year the seniors go on this like amazing trip, right? And then for no reason or explanation, their senior trip got canceled. And I just felt so upset. And it's just, I don't know why that it feels unjust. And there's this sort of like unacceptance of the fact that a situation is not going to unfold in the way that I was hoping and that I thought was going to give someone the best experience they're going to give. And it's sometimes it's hard for me to move past that and just be like, it's unfolding as it should, and there's probably a reason, like something's going to come out of it, and it's all for the good of maybe even me. Maybe this is all just happening so that I can learn acceptance, and let go of control. But yeah.
Just remember, Yazi, you feel thrilled and honored to experience this. It is a
I
thrill and an
did.
honor
So
for you,
thrilled.
in case you forgot.
I did.
We okay to move on to another topic, another subject? Let's take a look at a passage on using power with love and wisdom. A couple passages. First one from December 29th, 2007. Quo said, "You came here also to balance wisdom and love. In some cases, you also wanted to balance wisdom, love, and power. There is a great beauty in being a creature entirely of love, and yet to blend love and wisdom in a more useful way in your energy system is something that each of you is hoping that this incarnation will produce. The catalyst of the day, the grist for the mill that you must grind, those seeming challenges that meet you as you awaken for the day. All of those things are your way of practicing the presence of the one creator as you go. not segregating moments during your day when it is creator time and letting the rest of the day be worldly time. You hoped when you came here to find the way to so balance your awareness of love, power, and wisdom that you were able to begin to sense the metaphysical world that is inherent in every seemingly passing moment. And on March 29th, 2008, Quo said, "There is power in every word you think. So in addition to concerns of learning to be more loving and learning to be more wise, there is a concern, as one becomes more powerful, to use that power wisely and compassionately." So there was a tripod of love, wisdom, and power. And there was a just balance for each entity between those three. It is a consideration that goes into each entity's plan for incarnation. Yeah, I think we were talking about Atlantis not too long ago in our Tuesday, Saturday Zoom sessions, and that's what I was thinking of in terms of what they're describing here. It would appear the entities of Atlantis were not so great at using power with love and compassion, and used it more for service to self purposes rather than what they thought was service to others. Something that seems to be happening today as well, since so many today were reincarnated from Atlantis, if Quo is to be believed. What do you think, Ashley? Any thoughts on anything here?
It made me think about how, at least from my own perspective, when there is an interplay between the love, the wisdom, and the power, I do start to perceive that metaphysical essence that is behind even the most mundane of activities, whether it's walking through a crowd, whether it's just interacting with patients at my job, or if it's just sitting outside in nature. There's an understanding that that power is the essence of the infinite creator flowing through just beyond the veil of awareness, all presence. That power is the infinite creator's magic, you know. And there's another element where when we are moving forward with greater uses of love and wisdom, our thoughts, words, actions carry a greater weight. So the power is, yes, the infinite creators becoming aware of it, moving in everything. And then also the power we start to generate. For example, when I think a good thought, it's a really powerful thought. It carries a lot of denseness, weight, metaphysically speaking. On the flip side, if I have a bad thought, well, bad, a negative thought towards an other self, the weight it carries energetically is infinitely greater, in which case the love and wisdom also balance the power so that you don't end up depolarizing because you're using the intensity of energy and awareness control you've gained to do the opposite thing, to not be of service. So
Did you say that the negative thought has more power than the positive thought? Did I hear that right? And not sure if I would have thought of it that way.
it has just as much weight, a greater weight, in that because of the intensity of the will, the alignment of energy centers, the amount of intensity would be just as great. Not higher than the positive thought, but the idea that because of the awareness of the wanderer, seeker, adept, whatever label, it would have a greater intensity, energetically speaking.
I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
From the average thought, not from a positive thought, but from the average thought. For example, someone who is not awakened to anything, has no spiritual practices, is just, our everyday other self, not yet awake. Their thought that was of a negative nature doesn't have the same level of intensity or potency as one who was be fully awakened, have a lot of adept work under their belt, and they think the same thought. So it's about energetic weight. That probably makes no sense, but I'm speaking
No, I
from
think so.
a metaphysical point of view.
Yeah, I think so. The more purely or strongly one is polarized towards, let's say, the positive path, then having a intensely negative thought could be more depolarizing than to someone who really wasn't polarized that far positively in the first place.
Right.
Is that what you're
Right.
saying? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Oh, what do you think, Yasi? Any thoughts on that or anything else from this passage?
Ashley, that makes sense. It may we bring Star Wars into this as often happens.
May the
I
force
feel
be
like
with
that
you.
the force be with you also. I think that totally makes sense in the sense of like think Star Wars, right? You've got your like Jedi Master and you've got your Sith Lord, and each of them is probably using those energetic centers in very like high vibrating, powerful ways, in their own intentions. So their power over the force is much stronger, and therefore what they do with the force is much more impactful. And they can go either direction, right? So I think you're exactly right. I think when you are truly balancing love and power, I mean, love and wisdom, and you're in there and you're really working those vibrations, there's a lot of power behind your energy, whether that's a thought or a word or an intention or a direction. You for sure, I think, are much more powerful and making an impact than somebody who's not aware of the fact that they're kind of manipulating
Yeah.
all of those in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so
that makes
so I
perfect sense.
yeah. And also the other thing I wanted to say is to me, I heard this Taoist concept recently that says there is power in stillness. And I thought, how well does this apply to the law of one? Because as we know, Ben, you mentioned this earlier, but there's so much talk about stillness, about meditation, about presence and awareness. And I think that is such incredible power because it works both ways. Like, first of all, if you're still, you're able to balance, wisdom and love in any given moment to know how to act, how to react. And then when you do those things and they come back at you, if you're still, then you can use the power that comes with that. So to me, like your stillness and understanding is your power. You're just powerful in every moment. Then you can do whatever you want with this balanced, love and
Yeah.
wisdom that you're constantly cultivating.
Yep.
Beautifully said. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think in so many ways that is perhaps one of the objects of meditation, to still the turbulent waters of your mind in order to be more clear and more settled and more in touch with the deeper energies, maybe.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, have you had moments, I'm sure you all have, but there are moments where you're in an interaction and you're aware. You're totally aware of like what's going on, You're
Yeah.
there, you're like present, and
Mm-hmm.
you really feel powerful. You feel like you're able to take what the other person is saying or doing. You're able to think about it, kind of mold it, manipulate it. You're able to respond the way you really want to,
Yeah.
with the love there and whatever. Like, how is
And that
anything more
comes from
powerful than that?
stillness inside, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
Stillness, awareness, presence, all kind of
Yeah, beautifully
similar.
said. Had not thought of it, but really appreciate
Mhm.
hearing that. Makes perfect sense. Anything to add, Ben?
Yeah. First off, everything that has been said is great. Actually, I was totally with you when you were talking about. I believe that Ra is even mentioned about the fact that if you have discovered the raw material and you've absorbed it, then you immediately are taking on a responsibility as a creator being who is
Right.
now aware to to live in this world with this knowledge, and that's what because we have been exposed to this material and this way of thinking and way of being. I think our you can see how powerful first our own internal thoughts are, and the way we see the world, and because it does impact the energies that are around you and within you. So um so I think that the first passage and even the second passage is is hitting on the point of being aware and not having always all time is creator time. There's no worldly time.
Yeah.
It's all creator time all the time, and worldly time is actually an illusion.
Yeah.
So because it's all
Yeah.
creator time. And so
Yeah.
I think
That's good.
I think
I believe my creator time ends when we end this podcast, and then I go back to being an a-hole like I usually do.
so. So I would just say that this is just a gentle reminder that because we are aware and of of the way things are in the densities that it's our responsibility, it's the power of our Blu-ray
Right.
to to carry that wisdom forward and try to maintain it in all of our interactions and all of our thoughts, which is of course difficult,
Yeah.
but that's why we're here to do all this, and so that's all I have to add.
Thank you.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. And again, it's something that comes up often in our discussions. It's like nobody's perfect, and we're all going to fall short. We're never going to
Yeah.
be. If we were, we wouldn't be allowed to incarnate here. Right? So
True.
just do the best you can, I think, is always the.
We are under the veil. Yes.
For sure.
Right. Well, let's go ahead, take a look at one last set of passages on creators and co-creators. On April 22nd, 2007, Quo said, "Your culture is a very disempowering culture, in our humble opinion. It seems to be bent upon removing from your mind any thoughts that do not have to do with maintaining the status quo of life as a consumer. However, my friends, you are at heart not simply a consumer. Indeed, you are potentially a co-creator and a magical, powerful being capable of functioning in such a way as to change the true core nature of planet Earth on the metaphysical level. You share the consciousness of unconditional love. This consciousness you have in common with all souls. As the one known as A has noted recently, this is a spiritual democracy. You are precisely equal to all other souls. You are all a part of the infinite creator." And on December 16th, 1990, Quo said, "You are your own creation, and the more you accept responsibility for the creation of your life, the more lovely may that life seem as you find each delicious part to be a gift and each difficult patch to be a challenge and an opportunity." Yeah, can't help noticing, whenever I watch TV or go to the gym and I'm looking at the TVs in front of me while I'm on the machines, it's like, wow, it really does seem like we really are being trained to be consumers and slaves and to not really think of anything more than that. It is something. Kind of like the They Live movie by John Carpenter, if anybody saw that movie. It's
Is that good?
yeah, it's kind of a horror flick, but it's kind of unusual in that the guy who's just some random dude finds a pair of dark glasses that enables him to see what's really happening in the world around, and he
Oh,
sees
cool.
that everything we look at as like billboards and ads, there's like subliminal messages saying obey or buy or whatever, and he sees the faces of these extraterrestrials that are basically manipulating us subliminally. If you're into that kind of thing, it's a great movie.
Yes, into that kind of thing.
What do you think, Yassi? Any thoughts on anything here?
Um, I I love how nice they're being. Like your culture is very disempowering in our humble opinion. You guys are a mess. Yes, okay. So when I think of consumerism, you think like buy shit, like, get material things, put stuff in your whatever, clothe your, but consuming, I think, can also be like feeding the self, like just constantly feeding the self things, like feeding the self affirmations, like the self is the important thing, your ego, you must not be uncomfortable, you must be always at ease, you are the most important person in the room. Like I think also our culture, or our modern age, maybe it's not even our culture, is feeding that a lot, this idea of the self, right? I feel like I walk around and um there's a lot of self-centeredness, and I'm not saying we're not all sort of guilty of it once in a while. I'm sure we are, but there's just so much self-feeding constantly. Like, what's wrong with you? How could you be better? How are you important in this moment? How are you more important? How are your children especially more important in this moment? There's so much like that. that I think it really does blind you to being able to see outside of your, past your nose. What is that old saying? Like you can't even see past your nose anymore to notice
Right.
other people and care for others. So I think that's, again, awareness and stillness comes into this. Like, can you catch yourself as you go about your day and realize, like, are you just completely asleep? Have you just been thinking about yourself, your own problems, your own needs, and not in a way of like going to a soup kitchen, but like, can you just look around you and see how much you impact everything else around you, how much everything else is bouncing off of you, how you're not just an island of one, right? I
Yeah.
think that's important. And that's, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it would be fair to say the service to self entities that are basically in control of our political, economic, social institutions
Hmm.
are deliberately trying to keep us in a constant state of fear, constant state of
Yes.
anxiety, constantly just barely making enough in our slave labor jobs to pay the bills and whatever, specifically because they don't want us to have time to think about anything more to life than that.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of like constant infusion of the thought that you're not okay. And you're constantly like told you're not okay, things aren't okay, unless you spend all your time concentrating on fixing that, uh, like you're not going to be happy.
Right.
And it is a kind of hypnosis. It blinds you to the fact that you could be really happy not having any of the stuff that they're trying to feed you, or
Right.
not in the way that they're trying to feed you, right?
Yeah, it is in many ways mind control. But
Yeah.
our minds are one of the few things that we really do have control over. So
Yes,
once
if
you
we're
realize
aware.
that's what's
Yeah,
happening, then you're able to
exactly.
get beyond it.
That's
Yeah.
how you create. That's how you create. You like snap out of the matrix and you look around and you're like, "Oh my God, I get to actually decide. You're not telling me what to do. I'm in control."
Yeah.
But you have to wake up to it.
Yeah. And realizing that we really do actually have the power to change the true core nature of planet Earth on the metaphysical level is a really powerful understanding for sure.
Mm.
What do you think, Ben? Anything to add?
Not too much. I think that it's again about being awake and aware, and it's because it's so easy to slip back into unconsciousness and to slip back into the illusion, where I got to get that Toyota truck or else I'm not going to be happy and my wife's not going to love me anymore. Like we get bombarded with all this noise, but
Hmm.
and the truth is that it really is simple, and just love and be love, and that's really it. And the rest is noise, and we like to overcomplicate things with our minds, and um but we're all spiritual beings, and no one is better than anyone else. Like it says, we're all a part, we're all little pieces of the infinite creator, and we're all reflections of each other, and um we're all down here in this mess together to find our way through. Um and so I accept my responsibility for my little part, and I try to hold that beauty inside and remember, and try to see that beauty, that flicker of the creator in others, in our
Yeah.
interactions, and stay awake and aware. And in order to do that, you have to study your law of one and meditate every now and then, and watch less TV.
And open the green ray. Got to
Yeah.
remember,
Green
go
ray.
back to the first passage we look at. That is your
Yeah.
main reason for being here, to
That's
open
right.
your
Yeah.
green ray as
Right.
much as possible, as often as possible, for as long as possible every day. Everything else is just secondary.
Exactly.
What do you think, Ashley? Any thoughts on this passage or anything else?
Um, I did like the statement you shared, the consciousness of unconditional love, and it's common to all souls. Uh, so there's just this thought that, thank goodness, the unconditional love is within us. It's not somewhere outside that we have to reach and grasp for. It's always within. And
Yeah,
I think that's important to keep in mind, that we are love.
for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that part of the reference to spiritual democracy. You are precisely equal to all other souls. They've said this more than a few times in other sessions where in the physical universe, in our physical consensus reality, certainly all souls do not seem to be the same, and some seem to have a lot more power than others. But they were saying in time space, in the metaphysical world, every soul is exactly equal in power, regardless of what position they might seem to hold. And every act of service is equal also. And that healing 1,000 people is not necessarily better than healing one person in the metaphysical world. And yeah, and again, it's a really beautiful, powerful teaching. And we did do a podcast episode on it called Spiritual Democracy. So if you want to learn more about that, I would encourage you to check it out, especially if one feels disempowered at this time in what appears to be our society. There's a bigger picture there for sure. Anybody have any other thoughts before we wrap things up?
Um, just a personal reflection that the equality that all souls have and this oneness that undergirds everything, I always keep in mind it's because it's all the creator. It's all intelligent infinity. That's why it's equal, because it is the one creator in different forms. And that's also how I can get beyond the level of other selves doing negative actions, because I'm like, well, that's not just Bob, the homicidal maniac who likes X, Y, and Z and has this political leaning. That is the one infinite creator. And then I'm able to penetrate and latch on to that identity and then feel that love for the creator. It's a lot easier when you look at another self as the creator itself, not a part of, but the creator itself in the flesh, rather than this other self from, you know, from the personality shell. So that's just a little helpful tip if you have trouble connecting to that aspect of it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're framing that way. I agree. It seems like so much of this is really just about changing the way you see,
Yeah.
more even than maybe changing the way you think, but being able to see another person reflexively as a creator rather than some other personality who you may or may not agree or disagree with. It's a big deal. Let's go ahead and wrap this up then. Where do we go from here? What are some takeaway lessons that we have from our hour and a half long discussion so far? I actually came up with 7 for this one. For one, your mission is to keep your heart open as much as possible. If you don't remember anything else from this episode, I'd say that's a pretty good one. Second, learning to love the unlovable, choosing the loving response over fear and anger is indeed helping to make fourth density manifest. And that green ray or heart chakra is the energy center for unconditional love and understanding, which is indeed what fourth density is all about. And that the blue ray or throat chakra is about wisdom and seeing clearly, which is very much what fifth density is all about. And remember, blue ray is like the walls of your home, green ray like the furnishings. Need both in balance. That's what we're all here to do. Positive wisdom means setting boundaries with love. And that spiritual democracy means that all souls and all acts of service are equal. A lot of stuff. You can remember any of those. If any of those resonate with you, I'd say that's great. What do you think, Ben? Any takeaway lessons of your own you'd like to add? Any thoughts?
For me, my constant ongoing battle is to be aware, and come back to the breath, and that, and everything else will follow. So that's what I take away. That's my
beautifully said. Yeah, much appreciate that. Ashley?
No, I like all of your points of remembrance from the session. Nothing to add.
Okay. Yeah, this one, I don't always, some of them I can only think of, maybe 3 or 4, but there was so many great nuggets of love and wisdom here. It was hard to narrow it down to 7. Yasi, anything to add? Any takeaways of your own?
You did an amazing job. It's not in the passages, but I always have to remind myself of this. But just like lightness and humor, like these things get so big and important, and sometimes we sit there frustrated that we've been working on things, but continue to bring love and humor into all of it, because it just makes the work more enjoyable and honestly more powerful and attainable.
Well said. Yeah, I would say learning to be able to laugh and take things lightly. Quo has said many times that's a really important part of our spiritual learning. Thanks as always for the reminders. I did want to let our viewers know that if you enjoyed this episode, you might want to check out our episode on looking for love. A lot of great passages on learning how to love the unlovable and forgive the unforgivable. Episode on love over fear. Episode on energies and energy centers or chakras. Episode on Jesus and Buddha. Jesus has been held up as perfect exemplar of fourth density love and understanding, and Buddha has been talked about more than a few times as a good exemplar of the fifth density of wisdom. Looking at both of those together was a great episode. Episode on creators and co-creators and spiritual democracy. All great stuff with great messages and great passages to look at. Otherwise, we have one last thing to do, panelists, and that is the pop quiz. Pop quiz, of course, something we like to do at the end of our podcast, just to end our otherwise serious discussions on a lighter note, and maybe look for loved one connections in pop culture. Since today's episode was about love, wisdom, and power, I thought it would be fun to have a pop quiz on movies about characters with power, specifically characters with superpowers, and specifically characters with superpowers from what is known as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Panelists, are you familiar with these? Have you seen many or any or all of these movies?
Yes.
Yes.
Some. I can't believe there are so many.
A lot for sure.
That's probably not even all of them.
No, I definitely left out a lot, but I
Wow.
really stopped at Avengers Endgame because everything after that was, a little disappointing, I would
Good to
say.
know.
Yeah, great movies in there for sure, though. So just for the fun of it, I'm going to ask you 3 multiple choice questions about 3 of these movies. See how many you can answer correctly. Panelists, go ahead and say your answers out loud so our viewers can hear you through space-time. You are watching this on video sometime in the future. Say your answers out loud so we can hear you through time-space. Hopefully, you'll have fun. If you did, you won. Panelists, first question. According to director Taika Waititi, about what % of the dialogue in Thor Ragnarok was ad-libbed or improvised? Was it A, 20%, B, 40%, C, 60%, or D, 80%? Have you guys seen this movie? Do you know this
I
one?
really
I
like this
did
one.
when
Yes,
it
I
first
did see
came
it.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
really
one of my
like this
favorites,
one.
for sure.
It's one of my favorites too. 60, I would say 60.
I would say 60
Let's
as
go
well.
with 40% B.
Nice. Correct answer is D. You said it in an interview. About 80% of it was ad-libbed, which is
Wow.
really amazing. It is
That
a
is
super funny movie.
amazing. It is. It's so funny.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 80%
Oh
is
my
crazy.
goodness.
It's great, though, because, I mean, the first 2 movies, I think, was a super serious character. He really did a complete flip on this and really made it much more enjoyable, even. How about your second question? Which Avenger is the highest grossing movie actor of all time? Is it A, Robert Downey Jr., B, Samuel L. Jackson, C, Scarlett Johansson, D, Zoe Saldana, or E, Chris Pratt?
I was going to say Robert Downey Jr., but now I think Samuel L. Jackson.
I'll go with A.
Going
It's
with
Robert
B.
Downey.
I'm
Okay.
going to go with A, Robert.
Nice. Good guess. I believe the correct answer is Zoe Saldana as of
Of course,
January.
because of Avatar. Oh man.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It was actually Samuel L. Jackson like maybe a year ago, but I think when the last Jurassic World movie came out that Scarlett Johansson was in, then she passed him. And then I believe it was the Avatar movie that Zoe was
my
in
gosh,
that
look
put
at this
her
wealth.
Wow.
top.
Wow.
Not surprising with Avatar.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the latest one?
I have not
Yeah.
seen the list, no.
Was it
I-
good, though, Ashley?
It was.
Like, I
It
think that's the
wasn't
answer.
the best. It wasn't the best, but that's a long discussion.
Okay.
We'll have a whole podcast episode on that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy the Avatar movies that much. I saw the first one that was okay, and then I kind of didn't much
First,
That was
after
it.
that.
first two were good.
Hmm.
The third was just a continuation of the second. It needed to be a part of the second one,
Hmm.
so you feel like it's just an extra long
Mm.
episode, but they didn't have enough time to make like a 5-hour movie. So they made that part, which
Oh,
should have been in
interesting.
the second one, a whole other movie. And you can
Oh,
feel
interesting.
that. So that's why I was like, eh.
Okay, that's good. That's a good analysis.
Yeah.
Interesting. It is interesting. Out of the top 10 grossing actors, that only two of them are not in Marvel movies. I believe Tom Cruise and Dwayne Johnson. I believe
Wow.
everybody else was in some Marvel movie or
Wow.
several. How about your last one? Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, also directed which of the following? Is it A, Sinners, B, Fruitvale Station, C, Get Out, or D, Creed?
Creed. I'm gonna go with Creed.
I have no
I don't know
idea.
Man.
what Fruitvale Station is. What's
I'll
that
say
one?
C, Get Out.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like it might be Get Out.
Nice. Get Out is the only one that was not directed by Ryan
Oh,
Coogler.
Ah,
Get Out was directed by Jordan Peele,
that's right.
and
I
a
just,
great movie for
oh,
sure. But yeah, Ryan Coogler directed Sinners, which won quite a few Academy
That was
Awards a few
really
months
good.
ago. And
yeah.
Fruitvale Station, I think, was the first movie he made, and it had Michael B. Jordan in it, and it involved, I think, a true story about a young black man who was murdered at a BART subway station in San
Oh,
Francisco or
wow.
something.
Huh.
And Creed was the follow-up to the Rocky movies with Michael B. Jordan as Apollo Creed's son. Really great movies. I saw the first two Creed movies, and they were great. What do
Mm.
you think about the Black Panther movies? Did you guys see one, both?
I saw him. Yeah, I loved him.
thought they were great. Yeah.
I did not see Wakanda Forever. That's the second one, right?
Yeah.
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 Must have been really difficult making that second movie without Chadwick Boseman. I mean, he was
Yeah.
such a huge, larger than life person as an actor, as well as the perfect character in that movie. And to lose him and to still try to figure out a way to make another movie and continue the story.
That's
Uh,
true.
yeah. It's part of a grieving process for all the actors, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
great movies, great ensemble acting for sure.
Mhm.
Panelists, as always, it's been a pleasure and a joy hanging out with you. Thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at LNL Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. And to you who are watching this on video at some time in the near or maybe very distant future, thank you for all you've done, continue to do in service to others. We're sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator. Adonai. Namaste. Say goodbye,
Adonai.
panelists.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Bye. Love you.